So are you making the best business decisions? At least the best business decisions for you? So today's guest is going to show us how understanding our human design can help us to learn how to make better business decisions. Let's check it out.
Building spirituality, family, health, and business. This is The Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.
Hey, Giant Builders. Thank you so much for being here. I am really honored that you're spending a few minutes with me, and I have a very special guest today. Today we have Fabi Cordaro. Hi, Fabi. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Fabi. I am a mom of a 6-year-old who's just the sweetest thing, and she just finished her first year of kindergarten, which is a big milestone. I'm also a wife, and professionally, I am a spiritual guide, an energy healer, and I call myself an intuitive business guide. And I'm from South Africa. I moved to the US in 2015. Moved directly from South Africa to Nashville, Tennessee, and met my husband. We got married, had a little one, and yeah, put down roots in Nashville.
Wonderful. Nashville's a beautiful area. Do you
It
like
is.
country music?
I do not.
Oh.
I
Getting
didn't
used to
choose
country
Nashville.
music?
Well, yeah, it's like you can't really get away from it here, but I didn't choose Nashville. In my previous life, I was a CPA for an accounting firm, and that's how I ended up here. They transferred me to Nashville. And I worked for them for 13 years before I kind of fully transitioned into what I'm doing now.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, and 6 years old is such a wonderful stage.
So
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah. Well, all right. So I don't know much about this. So tell me a little bit more about human design. How do you
Oh,
describe that?
the first time I heard about it was probably 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And as soon as I pulled up my chart and it told me all of the information, I felt so seen and so validated. And it was like, wow, this is amazing. So human design is a combination of a personality test, but also using your birth information. So difference between human design and some of the other personality tests like Myers-Briggs and Enneagram is that those are very subjective, right? So you answer certain questions and then it decides what your profile is. With human design, the only thing you give them is your date, time, and place of birth. And then it pulls up something called a body graph, which what the kind of founder who downloaded this information says it's the blueprint of your soul. So human design was downloaded by a man named Ra Uruhu in the 80s on Ibiza, which is like an island off of Spain. And he had this spiritual awakening, and these angelic beings came, basically ETs came and shared with him this structure of information that combines multiple different ancient kind of texts and traditions into one kind of design for different, there's different types that you have. There's so much. It's such a deep program, and you can kind of get lost in it if you kind of delve into it. But it's basically a combination of the I Ching, which is the Book of Changes. It's the oldest book in existence. It's a Chinese book that was written thousands of years ago. The Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism and premises on the tree of life and very mystic properties. It also incorporates the chakra system, which is ancient Hindu system, right? All the different chakras, energy fields, energy centers, and then it also takes into account your astrology, so your planets and your different astrological information. So all of that combined creates this thing called a body graph, and depending on what your date, time, and place of birth is, it shows you how you are meant to use your energy and how you're meant to make decisions. It's so helpful because I think we make decisions every day, right? We have micro decisions we have to make, macro decisions we have to make. And this system really helps you understand how you're meant to make decisions based on your energy type and how you're put together, and not based on what someone else says or some other person's silver bullet or blueprint. So I can talk about human design all day. I'm obsessed with it.
Okay, so how do you combine this chart of who you are, how you make decisions into a business strategy or working with your business?
And so it's interesting because a lot of so human design initially was downloaded to help honestly children and parents learn how to raise their kids. Um, a lot of times when you look at someone's chart, there's a lot of what they call conditioning. And conditioning is how you were raised from early childhood of how you are meant to work, but that is not in alignment with how you are actually put together. So a lot of deconditioning is necessary when you start learning about your chart. And so Ra downloaded this to help parents to raise the children that they have based on how they're meant to be worked with versus how the parents think they should. But since it was when in the 80s, it's transitioned to a lot of more people using it for, you know, personal development and how to kind of, make decisions in your life. And the next iteration of that has been a lot of people implementing it in their business. And so combining business strategy with your human design really helps you to not only create a business, but also make decisions in your business, market yourself, speak about your business, based on how it's meant for you to do it, how your energy flows, versus how someone on social media decided that, no, you need to post 5 times on Instagram, or you need to there's only one way, right? So not everyone is meant actually to use their voice to speak about their business. And based on your chart, you're able to see, if you look at certain aspects of your chart, you can see how are you meant to make decisions. Some people can make decisions really quickly. Others need to wait it out a little bit. There's also parts of when you look at the throat area of the chart, whether it's defined or undefined makes a very big difference as to how you're meant to speak about your offers and how you're meant to speak to your clients about things, how you're meant to show up online. So every single one of your centers or your type or your profile can be taken both for personal development, but then also I think our business is such an extension, right, of ourselves. How can you use that information you have, learning more about yourself? How can you implement that in your business? Is amazing.
So can this information guide us as to what type of business we should be in?
Well, one of the things I always say is take what resonates and leave what doesn't, right? So there's never a should or shouldn't. It is a guide, right? So using it in a way that is helpful for you. The cool thing about human design is based on your type, there is certain things that's in the highest for you to be able to do. And then also based on your what's called a incarnation cross, your incarnation cross is there's 68 of them. It's very complicated. But your incarnation cross, when you have that information, it basically tells you why you're here. Why did you incarnate on Earth? And one of the reasons why you incarnate on Earth could be to have a business that supports you in doing certain things, right? So depending on what you're trying to do, it'll be really helpful to understand what's your incarnation cross, and then understanding how that aligns with who you're here to serve, what type of business you're meant to have. So yeah, not prescriptive, but more of a guideline as to how can you most walking your dharma, basically, right? How, as if you show up with your energy the way that you're meant to based on your type, and you understand what your incarnation cross says, it helps you to know, okay, how do I orient myself to be able to be in the most aligned place so that I can have a business that is in alignment with why I came here.
Okay. All right. So, all right, expand on this for me. So a What does a soul-aligned business actually look like in real life?
In real life, so for me, for example, I'll use as an example. So I am a manifesting generator. If you've never heard about human design, that doesn't mean anything to you. But there are 5 types in human design. And one of the types is a manifesting generator. And as a manifesting generator, I am not here to just do one thing. Part of that type is you do multiple different things and you create something that's unique. And your offers that you provide and your business is going to be very unique based on your experiences. And you're basically bringing things together that most people wouldn't even see as a way to combine things, right? And that is like word for word in the design. And so you take that and you say, okay, how can I apply this to my life? How am I meant to make decisions, right? And the process of going from, okay, I always say I'm just selling screws and actually living a solar line business is figuring out what are you here to do, and then applying that to your life based on what lights you up. And so I use myself as an example. My authority is a sacral authority, which basically says I make decisions by my body goes into a yes or a no. So it's yes or no type on responses. So when I make decisions about whether or not I'm going to, let's say, host a retreat for my business, I don't do a ton of research necessarily and like do like a pro cons list or talk to all these people or go on social media to let someone else decide whether or not this retreat is for me. I ask my body, right? Because I know how my body responds and I know what a yes feels like in my body and I know what a no feels like. And so it's these multiple small decisions that you're making in your business or in your life, and you're doing it based on your own intuition and on your own understanding of how your body responds. So there's a lot more to it than just, business strategy and how much are you going to charge. Those things are big questions to ask, but the way you get to response is less externally focused and less what other people tell you and more internally focused, focusing on what is your body telling you, how to listen to your intuition and what's your authority, and how you are meant to make decisions.
What are the other four?
So projector is one of them. So generator, manifesting generator, manifester, and reflector. So there's 5 of them.
Okay.
Do you want me to pull yours up?
Okay.
Okay, so
Sure.
so how about you go to myhumandesign.com.
Okay.
And then you're going to put in your birth information and then let me know what comes up.
So what about all the other people born on that day? Do they all have this, or do we all have similar human designs?
So you have to put in your exact date and time of birth.
Oh, what if I don't know the exact time of birth?
It's not going to be as accurate if you
Okay.
don't know. Do you know if it's morning or evening?
It was afternoon.
Okay, so it's not everything's going to be 100% accurate, but put in a time that feels right. And then you also have to put in the place. So no one is going to be born the exact time, place, and location as you. And even if they are, then that you would have a very similar human design.
Right. Yeah, especially when you're adding in the location, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's see what comes up. All right, Jamie, this makes me nervous doing this live with you guys. All right, so it says I'm a projector, a seer,
Yep.
and my authority is emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And my profile is the easy breezy genius.
And what's the numbers next to those?
2, 4.
2, 4. Okay. So as a projector, so the 5 types I just mentioned, right? So projector is one of them, manifesting generator, and reflector. So projectors are one of the types that have limited amount of energy. So it means that you need to really rest a lot. Like rest is important to you because
Okay.
that's how you replenish your energy. The other types that are generators or manifesting generators, they are literally like a generator. They create their own energy source. So you can plug into a generator. So if your spouse or friends or coworkers of yours, a lot of times my husband's a projector. And so a lot of times projectors and generators or manifesting generators are partners because they can literally energetically plug into each other so that I'm lending some of my unlimited energy to him. And there's no wrong profile or right profile, just to be clear. There's nothing like it's just how you are put together. And so as a projector, you are here to share your knowledge because typically projectors are really wise, like you're the seer. And so you typically go into a lot of projectors, it's really good for them to go into careers like coaches or mentors, or like you're doing, like
Or a
asking.
podcast host.
Exactly, right? So you are here to gain knowledge and share knowledge. And
Hmm.
so as a projector, you're meant to, as I say, wait for the invitation. A lot of people get like wrapped up in the whole waiting situation because a lot of the profiles or types need to wait for a certain thing to happen. As a manifesting generator, I need to wait for a response. And that doesn't mean that I'm just going to sit at home and not do anything. It just means that when, let's say I have an inspiration, right? I have this inspiration of, like, again, I'm working on retreat right now, so it's very poignant. So I have this inspiration of hosting a retreat, right? And I have this whole idea of what I want it to be and all of these things, and I can create this whole retreat in a vacuum, but I need to wait till someone or something outside of me comes into my field for me to respond to. And if I put the cart before the horse and I launch this retreat without anyone actually like being like, oh, you should host a retreat, or oh my goodness, I just went to a retreat in Taos, New Mexico, and it was amazing. And I get that like, oh, I think that's where my retreat would be. If I don't wait for the universe to come to me, I may preemptively put things out there, and there would be like it would be a complete failure, not failure, but it would be a dud because timing is so important. And so that's one of the things with human design is this whole aspect of your authority and your the way that you're meant to make decisions and like the waiting to respond or waiting for invitation. It's all to do with like everything is going to align based on when the right timing is for you to act, and you just need to patiently be like open to seeing and trusting that, okay, I'm going to hold this, I'm going to do all of the things in the background, I'm going to use my authority around for example, like I'm unemotional, which means that my body responds to a yes or no response. And so I'm going to use that to put together this retreat, but I'm not going to launch it until I have the universe is putting something in my place of being like, oh, I wish I could go on a retreat. I've been looking for something like this, and I can respond to that nudge. So for you, your authority is emotional. And it's funny because people always think when they hear that, they're like, I'm not very emotional, right? But it just means that you have emotional waves, which not everyone's put together that way. And some people are unemotional and they're much more like like empathic, where they pull in other people's emotions. As an emotional authority, you push your emotions out without even noticing it or being aware of it. Subconsciously, when you have your emotional waves, the people in your environment, especially those who are more empathic, can pick up without even you realizing it or them realizing it on your emotions. And so a lot of times an emotional authority have these waves where, right, like the emotion like really takes you over, and then it like when it crests and it comes down and then you're okay, right? It's not this long drawn out process of like having to um, clear your field of other people's emotion. So it just means that when you're making decisions as an emotional authority, it is important for you to wait your wave out before you're making big decisions, right? So someone may ask you, would you like to go for a hike, right? And Monday you feel great. You're like, yes, I would love to. Let's go on Friday. Tuesday, you're like, oh, I don't know why I just answered yes to that question, right? And then Wednesday, you may have a great emotional wave day, right? You may be on the top of the wave again, and then you're excited. And so that's a very simple example of it. But the recommendation for people with an emotional authority is to wait out and ask yourself that same question throughout your wave. And then whatever the response is, like both on the high and the low, that is kind of what is in alignment for you, and not to make knee-jerk decisions just because you're activated.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Does that, if that resonate with
Yeah,
you?
it really does. Yeah, it does. Because
Yeah.
like when I look at my calendar, it's like, oh, look at I've got this and this and this to do. And then the next day, like, oh, look at my calendar, I got this and this to do. So yeah, it
Depends
kind
on
of,
where you are on your wave.
yeah.
Like you have, and then one of the things you can do is you can start to really recognize or measure your wave, right? Everyone has a specific time, like of their wave. And so let's say your wave is 12 hours, you would just basically wait that out before making big decisions. Obviously, you can make smaller decisions or whatever, but you would be more kind of aware of your emotional kind of wave once you're able to kind of understand how long your wave lasts. And then the third important thing for you is, so the first one is that you're a projector. So all of those have a specific like way of being. So for you, it's as a projector, you're the seer, you're very wise, you kind of bring in information, you're able to like have knowledge and share people, you can see people for who they are, you're very good at giving advice, all of those things. The second thing is your authority. And so for you, it's emotional, we just discussed. And then the third thing is how you're meant to respond, and that is waiting for the invitation. So this is interesting because as projectors, you have a very penetrating aura, and that sounds horrible, but that's kind of how they explain it, right? So as a projector, when you're a projector, if you are not invited into someone's field and you give them unsolicited advice, it goes badly. So even though you may know what the best thing is for someone to do in a certain situation, if you don't wait for them to ask you to give them advice and you give them the advice before they're ready to hear you, they'll shut down and not listen to you at all. It's not that your advice is bad, it just means that you weren't invited into their aura so that you can provide your your seer, your knowledge, etc. And so the whole waiting for invitation is just basically to help make sure that wherever your knowledge or your genius is shared, it's kind of a fruitful space, and that they're willing to hear you, because of the penetrating aura of a projector, it can come off as like kind of a know-it-all, like I don't really need you to tell me that right now, like I don't like I'm not open to hearing you. And so just being mindful of like, or even just asking, hey, I have a thought about this, would you be willing to hear what I have to say about it, instead of kind of giving unsolicited advice to someone who's not open to it.
Yeah, that's good. I'm a more of a quiet person, so I hardly ever like just throw out
Yeah,
advice or things. So
so that shouldn't be an issue for you then.
yeah, yeah.
My husband's a projector, and that's not him. He
Oh,
wants to learn that waiting for invitation aspect of things.
oh, okay. So how can you use this knowledge of yourself to move forward? I mean, how do you, knowing that I am a projector, how do I use that to make decisions in my life?
So for you as a projector, what's important is to know that you have this aura that is here to help people understand better how they're meant to live and how their lives can be better. So you have like, it's just like this, like if you use it correctly, it's just like gentle, like just guide, or like um I don't want to say guru, but like that aura of you are able to help people see better and mentor them, right? So a big thing with, and that's why they call it the seer. You're able to see things that others aren't able to see in their life. And so for you, depending on your incarnation cross, which will give you a much more like direct um and like identification of like what is your sphere of where you're meant to work. And to do your incarnation cross, I would be hesitant to do it without your exact time of birth, because that can change significantly based on your time of birth. But I always tell projectors, you're here to help others see something in their life and mentor them in ways that they aren't able to see. So you're able to be that like guide for them. People can come to you and ask you questions or ask her, what would you do? Like, do you have advice for me? And so it's that like mentor, guide, someone that's an advisor. And so being open to that invitation as you kind of just sit, it's literally just like that energy of sitting back and resting, which is very important. And we're in the times when you do have the energy for certain things, following that like energetic wave. And when you don't have the energy, don't try and push it, because the thing with projectors is because they don't have they have a finite amount of energy, they can burn out pretty easily if they try and push themselves too far and try and do things that's not in alignment or things that they don't have the energy for. So it's literally like this pressure valve that turns on and off based on what you're lit up by in certain situations. And so being aware of what that feels like in your body is really important. And then following that, and whenever that valve is shut off, taking the time to rest, because that kind of that helps you recalibrate and build up that energy reserves again, and then kind of moving on to, so not necessarily like focusing so much on your to-do list. Like just because you have 10 things on your to-do list today doesn't mean all 10 is in alignment, right? Doesn't mean all 10 needs to be done today. And so really paying attention to like what feels good for me to do today. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to do anything, right? Like I think a lot of people think, oh, if I just do what I'd like to do, I'm going to procrastinate. But the thing to remember is there's a time and place for everything. And so to push yourself to do something you don't want to do may take an hour, where that task, when you have the energy for it or it's in alignment for you to do, could take 10 minutes. And so reevaluating like your to-do list, your calendar, and really paying attention to your energy levels and resting when you feel like, okay, I can't push myself anymore. I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to rest. And then when you get back into it, you'll have so much more energy for whatever it is you need to do.
Oh, that's pretty cool. All right. So do you have like, how do you personally go through your waves and burnouts?
Yeah, so as a manifesting generator, I'm a sacral manifesting generator, which means that my energy or the way I am making decisions is through yes or no responses. So I don't have waves similar to those with emotional. I
Not
have,
everybody has waves.
no, not everyone has waves.
Oh, okay.
So only those with emotional authority has waves. And so I have mine is sacral, which means I'm unemotional. And again, these are just terms that doesn't mean I have no emotions. It just means that my emotion center, which is one of the centers that's colored in or white in your body graph, is undefined, which means that instead of me pushing my emotions out, I pull in and amplify the emotions around me, which makes me very empathic, right? So I'm a massive empath, but it can be really harmful if I'm not aware of what's mine and what isn't mine. So when I walk into a room, I'm able to check out the vibe and be able to immediately know if someone, like whatever the emotional state is. Or with my husband, since he's a emotional projector, his emotional waves can impact me much longer than him, because he's pushing it towards me and I'm pulling it in and I'm amplifying, which is something that a lot of your undefined centers do. Based on the center, it depends on what you're amplifying. For the emotional center, you're amplifying emotions if it's undefined. And so for me, it's really important for me to know what's mine and what isn't mine. It's important for me to have grounding practices. It's important for me to basically like shed anything that's not mine anymore, do a lot of cleansing of my energy because I'm picking up people's emotion and amplifying it all day long, right? And so when it comes to making decisions, even just like whether or not I'm going to be on this podcast, right? I needed to ask my sacral, which is my authority. Yours is your emotional. Mine is my sacral. Ask it yes or no questions. So I use muscle testing, which is basically, I don't know if you've ever heard of muscle testing, but it's basically one of the easiest ways to do it is the sway test. And I started doing that, but now I've kind of graduated to different things. But it's basically where you stand up and when you ask, so let's say you ask a simple question, it's like, my name is Fabi. You will see your body sways forward, like towards that question, or leans in. And that's naturally because your body leans into whatever is true and it leans away from, or it wants to get away from whatever is not true. And a lot of chiropractors use that, not just that one, different muscle testing techniques to help with understanding where people have issues in their body. Like it's like a whole subsection of medical or like Eastern medicine. But I use that because yes or no is how I'm supposed to answer questions or make decisions. And so I literally just ask my body if this is in alignment for me to do or not. And then if I get a no, I don't do it. If I'd say yes, I do it. So like it's a lot of body awareness. And so because I'm a manifesting generator, I am, again, meant to do so many different things. Like I said, I started off as being an accountant. And now I'm doing all of these other things because I realized that wasn't like something I was supposed to do for the rest of my life. And so as a manager, they always say we have like five different plates spinning at the same time. And it's literally that. It's like we are able to do little things, but a lot of different things, and bring them all together to make this like conglomerate of offers or businesses or just whatever lights you up. And that's the biggest thing, right? Like whatever you feel lit up by is probably something you should follow. And so if you don't take anything from this podcast, that's kind of the biggest thing, regardless of your type, your profile, really anything in human design. It's all about what is it that lights you up and makes you happy and makes like that feeling come up. That is the direction, and keep paying attention to that. And if you keep doing that, you're going to start really going down roads that you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even think about this. And so it's a journey, right? There's no silver bullet. But as soon as you start to listen to your body, as soon as you really start to slow down and not listen to the stories in your head or listen to someone else telling you what to do, bringing it inwards, you're going to find the roadmap that is already inside of you, and it's not following someone else's like roadmap.
So what does like a meeting look like with you? What happens when you are coaching somebody?
Yeah, so I love doing work with different people. Like I started off just working with women, but I have male clients as well now. And I work with both healers and coaches and people who just found me randomly. I work in Nashville in person, but I also do online. A lot of my clients are across the country and UK, etc. So I have different types of offers. I really believe in this work being long-term versus just one session. I don't think root cause work really is something you can just do like sporadically, one session at a time. So I do offer like a one-off, one-off, 90-minute session. That's only that. But most of the work I do is 3 to 6 months. And so we meet every week or every other week over that period of time. And then I also do a lot of energy work as part of that. So when I say like as a manager and I do everything, like it's like this like bubble of just things. A session could look very different depending on what is necessary for the client at that time. When we start working together, let's say we do a 6-month mentorship program package. What I do is something called an energy audit, which is where I go into your energy field and identify if you have any past life ties, any any chakras that need to be balanced, any energy centers that needs work. It's kind of a diagnostic of your current energy, any wounds that need to be worked through, and that kind of helps us work towards like where are we going. So I call myself a business guide, but it's very like ancillary to the work that we do in session, which a lot of it is we could do a past life regression or an energy work, or we could do IFS, which is internal family systems, or we could do inner child work during a session. And so it's kind of like this, again, all of these different modalities into one. And then we can also like talk about your offers, and we could do like a strategy around your social media, for example. I work with a lot of spirit guides. And I don't know if you work with spirit guides, familiar with the concept, but it's basically where I connect you with your higher self and your guides that are here to support you and help you understand how to use your spiritual gifts, how to bring them online, and how to trust and listen to your own inner voice and your intuition. And so all the things I'm talking about as to like listening to your body, what does yes feel like, bringing in human design to understand that as well. So human design is a pillar of the things that I kind of bring into a session, but it's very much based off of like one, the energy audit that I do, and to see where the focus is going to be. Typically when I see you have maybe like a past life tie, which is basically like a a, a past life that is impacting your current incarnation. So we focus on that first, where we do a past life regression and understand the impacts of that experience on your current incarnation, and then work through anything that may have been a fear that may have come up, or some type of physical aspect of manifestation of the energetic wounds. So it's going to be dependent on exactly what your energy order comes through, but there's elements of energy work, there's elements of human design, there's elements of guide work, and like I said, IFS, internal family systems, inner child work. So we kind of go around and come back to, because it's never just like, what do I need to do for my business, right? It is so much more there, right? The reason why you don't know what to charge your clients, or you don't know how to show up in your business, it isn't because you don't have the mindset work right. It's because there's an underlying root cause that you possibly feel like you're not worthy of charging more, or you're not worthy of what your clients are, or you don't know why you're here, and you don't know who you're serving, or you're doing something because someone else told you. So there's always some other reason why you're unable to show up in your business, or you don't know how to make decisions. It's never just that, right? There's a layer underneath that, and then there's more layers underneath that, and then we get to the thing. A lot of times, especially with clients who are female and have really big struggles about showing up showing up as willing to say that I'm a healer, or I am going to charge XYZ for my prices. When we get into it, it's because they had a past life where they were a witch, and they were trialed as a witch, and they had been hung, and now they have this fear subconsciously of stepping into their gifts and speaking out, because they feel like their nervous system still remembers that lifetime where they were, which is called the witch wound, which I think a lot of women have, even men. So it's when you really kind of the person may come to me with, maybe I've had people come because I do a 6-week womb healing program where I work with women who want to get pregnant, and we do a lot of womb work. And some like I've had clients come in with that, and we do the 6 weeks, and then they stay on for 6 months because they realize that, oh, my womb work or my wounds have been impacting how I show up in my business. And since the womb is where we create, and a business is what one of the creations that we are birthing, I'm really struggling because I'm not willing to step into my gifts. I have this deep fear of being seen. Like there's so many things that are underneath the like simple thing of I don't know how much to charge or I don't know how to market. It's never just that.
Yeah, there's always a lot to it. Well, tell me about your book. You participated in a book.
Yes. So Heal to Lead is this is the third one, volume 3, and it's called Stories to Turn Your Wounds into Wisdom. And it's different stories by inspirational leaders sharing their personal stories. And mine is very much like a little snippet of aspects of my story because we only had so many chapters, words we could write for
Yeah.
each chapter. But it's rooted in a lot of the work that I do when it comes to the current reality we're in and consciousness and the rising of consciousness on Earth. So it's very woo-woo. That's that, but there's a lot of obviously other books, other stories in here, but mine, it's called Star Seeds and Karma, and it talks about kind of the history of the earth. It talks about my story, the history of humanity and the veil of Maya and the evolution of humanity. And so it talks about my experience with complex PTSD and how I was able to go from just someone with this diagnosis from a psychiatrist and really understand why I'm here, what that meant, what the point was of my dark night of the soul, and how I was able to move through someone just, putting that moniker on me as you have complex PTSD and there really isn't anything we can do for you, to using that to be able to remember my own soul's history and journey and reason for incarnating on Earth.
Okay. Well, any closing thoughts?
I love talking to you. I love talking about human design. I can't wait to once you have your time of birth, I'd love to, if you want to send me your actual full thing and I can share with you a little bit more about your
Thank you.
human design. I highly recommend anyone listening or watching to go to myhumandesign.com and pull up their chart, read about it. It's so um it gives you so much permission to be who you are unapologetically versus trying to be someone you're not. And like I said, there's so much to it. We didn't even touch the like surface of all the different things in there. And so it's an amazing tool to use to be able to understand just like how to do life in a way that's in aligned with your energy and like your soul plan versus again someone else's or following some prescribed external source. And yeah, I wish everyone watching and listening that they can find a way that they can really step back and be in their own sovereignty. I really believe once we are able to go inwards and really learn about ourselves and learn how we are meant to operate, everything is so much easier. You parent better, you're able to be a better spouse, you're able to be a better, CEO or partner or whatever it is you do, you're coming from a place of knowing yourself versus someone else telling you who you're meant to be.
Well, baby, thank you so much. That was great information. Giant Builders, I'll also have a link up here if you're watching YouTube of other episodes that you might find interesting. And I'll also have a link in the podcast notes. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and just your information. It's a lot of information.
This is a whole world, and so take it one step at a time. It can become a lot if you kind of delve too quickly in it. So it'll come whenever it's ready. This information will settle in. A lot of it will sound like gibberish, and it'll come around again. Someone else will talk about human design. They're like, "Oh, I heard about that." So just take it slowly. It'll come and seep in whenever it's time.
Yeah. All right, giant builders, thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. This has been The Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.